Hey, welcome back, my friend. My name is Danny Dumas, and this is the Earning Title Podcast. I'm not sure if you can tell or hear, but I am not in my normal studio. In fact, you just heard a car horn beep. I am in Santiago, Chile, at my in-laws' apartment, and I'm on the balcony. But I want to make sure I get an episode out to you. I don't want to miss. So if it doesn't sound awesome, I ask you to forgive me. But I'm in actually a really pretty place. I can see the Andes Mountains right here. If you're watching this online, it's pretty awesome, and hopefully the sound is okay. So, a while ago, I was doing a canopy tree. They call it the tree runner, where you clip into these ropes, and then you do obstacle courses in this trees. It's beautiful, and as we're going through with my kids, I see a girl. She's trying to get down, and there's a kind of a special way you have to get down. You have to walk down this ladder. Well, she tripped and fell, and she's now swung upside down. You're wearing a harness, you're wearing a helmet, you're safe. But as she's hanging upside down, she's obviously stuck, and I can't get onto the system she was on because of just the way the safety features work. And so I'm close. I'm laying on my belly. I'm like, hey, if you can flip up right side up, you can get out. I can help you. You can stand up, you can get back on the ladder, and you'll be okay. And she's like, I can't do it. I'm like, no, you don't have to do anything but right yourself. Just go from being upside down. She's like, nope, I'm done. And she just gave up. And we had a worker coming. They were on the ground. They told us, hey, we'll be there in a second. And they were, and I tried to encourage her a couple more times to, hey, just flip over. You can do it. She's like, I can't. She's just like if she didn't have someone coming to get her, she would have died hanging upside down. She completely gave up. And it made me appreciate my kids, all three of my kids, and they're at different ages. I have an 18-year-old, a 15-year-old, and my 17-year-old will be 18 in a week. They've all become very independent. They're willing to try new things. And while I think personality, obviously that's on them, right? They have pushed themselves. They decided to try things. I think there's a parenting component involved in that. And while I'm down here in Chile, I took a video of my daughter doing something very similar. It was at a mall called the Sports Mall. And she was going through these obstacle courses above the top level of the mall. She's hooked in. And I realized that I had the exact same video of my son probably 10 years ago. So he would have been 8 years old. She's 8 years old right now. And I realized that there's things that me and my wife have done that have created independent kids. And I think as a parent, that is one of our main goals. You don't want them to be living in your basement until their 30s. So I try to reverse engineer what we've been doing, because we did it again, right? My youngest was doing what my oldest did. Reverse engineer and give that advice to you of how you raise independent kids in what is very obviously a very dependent world. With technology and things, it is easy to not be able to think on your own. So one, we've made all of our kids ask for what they want. When we go to a restaurant, we do not order for our kids. We're in Chile right now, and my kids don't speak great Spanish. We have them in Spanish try to order. Now, my wife, she's very kind, and she won't let us fail completely when we're trying to do this, even myself, but we make them order. We make them, if they want something, we have a restaurant here in the Midwest in Michigan called Culver's. And Culver's, you go up and order your food, and then they bring it to your table. And if you're a kid in the Happy Meal, you pull this piece of paper off, and you take it to the front, and they give you ice cream. My daughter, since she's been 3 or 4 years old, when she could walk, when she was real little, we had her walk and stick the paper, and then we would ask for ice cream. And now when she turned 5 or 6, she could talk without any problems. She did it on her own. Now, we can see her, right? I can see her, but we don't get out of her table. We hand her the piece of paper. She walks to the front, and she says, chocolate ice cream with sprinkles. We make them get out of their comfort zone. We make them talk to other, adults. And there's a lot of times they don't want to. I don't want to. Well, if you don't want to, you don't have to have ice cream. And while it's harsh a little bit, it is created. All three of our kids talk to adults. And I know full-grown adults that won't talk to other adults. They can't live outside of talking on their phones and texting and communicating. So that's the first one. We make them interact with the world if they want something. Now, we don't force them. If they really are shy and they really don't want to, at the moment, go talk to them, it's okay. They just don't get ice cream. A lot of in life, you're either moving away from pain or you're moving towards pleasure. And I think when you get to that realization that you have the ability to work towards pleasure or walk away from pain, you can really use that to create amazing things in your life, and use that for your kids. They want something, get them to get out of their comfort zone and go get it. Number 2, we allow them to do dangerous things as safe as possible. The tree runner thing we did, it's, you could fall, obviously you could flip upside. It's slightly dangerous. When my kids were all at the playground and they wanted to climb on the outside of the playground, I let them. As a paramedic, I obviously have some concerns and some worries that my kids are going to fall and get hurt, but I understand there's a difference between, like, you could die or you could get injured. If you could get slightly injured, let your kids do it. Let them, if they ask, hey, can I jump off the deck? If you don't think, yeah, they'll probably break their leg. If that's a possibility, right? You got to balance it. You're the parent. Let them do it. Let them try the backflip on the trampoline. Let them explore their nature. We want to put our kids in a bubble because we don't want them to get hurt. But there's a big difference between becoming damaged, where you could never be repaired again, and just being injured. You recover from injury. And I think in this day and age, with there's so much safety, there's so much control over or how things work, it's important to let them experience maybe even a little bit of pain. Like, sometimes if your kid's doing something stupid and you've told them to stop and you realize the consequences is going to be a minor injury, let them go and see what happens. Maybe they don't. Maybe they're really great at what they're doing. Maybe they're riding their bike a little too fast and you want them to slow down, but they're going to fall off. They're wearing a helmet. They're on grass. I think you have to let your kids get out of their comfort zone. Same thing with separating from you. And that's hard when you're little. Yesterday we went to an antique market in a plaza. In the city I'm in, Santiago, I think there's 6 million people. It's a big, huge, giant city. My daughter said, can I play in the playground? Yes, you can go play in the playground. Could we see her the whole time? No. Have we told her that if somebody tries to pick you up, you scream as loud as you can? Yes. But we let them separate. We let them create distance. And for you and your wife, this might be going on vacation and leaving them with somebody you trust, your parent, your brother or sister, or a trusted family member. Get away from your kids. Let them realize that they're going to be okay at somebody else's house. And this is very controversial. And I realize that, the sleepover thing, when I grew up, and probably if you're similar to my age, you went to people's houses and you hung out. I understand that has changed dramatically. My kids didn't nearly go to as many people's houses as I did. I went, if I went to school with somebody, I was pretty much okay with, my parents were okay with me going to their house. That's just the way it was. I understand people, it's a hard no. But to go to your parents' house and for you to go away on a trip or on a cruise, or just to have them go there for a couple of days, I think it's really important. If you've got a kid that's 7, 8, 9, 10 years old and they've never been away from you for more than 24 hours, I'm encouraging you, find somebody that you truly trust and let them get away from you. It is how you build strong, independent kids. They're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And they're going to become independent. They're going to be able to leave your house and go do amazing things. One thing, I think this is a small thing. Get your kids to eat things that maybe you don't like. I'm a very picky eater. My kids eat all kinds of things. And what I was very conscious of not saying that's disgusting. I might say, I don't enjoy that, I don't like that, but my kids have had all kinds of crazy food. There's some really weird fruit out there that's looks like slime. My kids have eaten it. Raw oysters, I would bring home fruit, like dragon fruit that looks like a dragon egg, and cut it open. We would try it. Get them to experience life that is not normal. And the last one, and this is the one that I think is going to be hardest for you, and probably, I don't want to stereotype, but probably harder for your wife. Don't put your stress on your kids. Let them see you living a life where you overcome obstacles. To get to this trip, me and my son, we took, my dad dropped us off in Canada to a train. He said, see you later. We were an hour and a half early. About 30 minutes later, this conductor comes by and says, the train's not running today. I said, what do you mean the train's not running today? He's like, yeah, there's no train to Toronto. There was a derailment. The track is shut down. I'm like, what do we do? He's like, well, cancel your tickets, try to get to London, which is another hour away, and there's a train from there. So I booked the new tickets. I called the taxi company. I said, hey, we need a ride to London. She goes, okay, that's going to be $200. I was blown away, $200. So I called my dad. I'm like, hey, how far are you? He's like, I'm about 30 minutes away. I'm like, can you come back? Yeah, for sure. Well, in talking, there was a couple other people stuck. I said, hey, my dad's coming back. I have a minivan. If you want to ride with me, I can get you to London. The lady said, oh, that's so nice. She's like, actually, I have my car. I can just drive there. Why don't you come with me? So, and she had another lady, and then we drove with a guy who is now a woman. There was a eclectic group of people gets in a car, and we basically hitchhike an hour to another city. We get on the train. We get to the airport. My son, who's going to be staying in Chile for 6 months, who is a Chilean citizen, we don't have any of his paperwork. We're getting it during this trip. The lady said, is Levi have a return trip sooner than 90 days? So I'm like, well, he's a Chilean citizen. She said, can you prove that? And I realized I couldn't. He's not allowed to stay in the country for more than, at least in Chile, for more than 90 days without proof that he's going to be leaving. So I'm scrambling. I call my wife. She's trying to find his birth certificate. I realized that we can, if I change his ticket to inside the 90 days, then we won't need to worry about it. Meanwhile, my wife finds an old picture with his birth certificate on it. We get it. And through all of it, I didn't get mad. I was very polite. I kept my cool. Was I stressed out? Yes. Was it complicated? Yes. Was there reasons to be stressed out and like be mad and angry? And absolutely. But I was able to keep my cool. I think it was so important for my son to see that. Afterwards, we get done and we're walking. I take a deep breath and he goes, man, that was an adventure. I'm like, yeah, bud, that was an adventure. And I think if you can have your kids see that the challenges in life, the hard things in life, the scary things in life, the things that you can't predict are adventures and not things to be avoided. Like, I know people, and I'm sure you do too, that if that train wouldn't have been running, they would have just went home. And thankfully, I've been able to conquer that stress, conquer that worry, and give that to my kids. And that's what I hope for you. I want you to see challenges in your life as adventures and not problems. And if you can live your life as an example, I think your kids are going to do great. And I know that's what you want. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. I hope the sound of honking horns hasn't been too distracting. My name is Danny Dumas. I will talk to you later. Bye.